Title: The Fog Beneath Our Feet, London, 1888. The air hung thick with damp fog, as though the city itself were exhaling rot from its lungs. A plague had returned, not just the Black Death, but a deeper affliction, suffering. The rich walled themselves in gilded chambers above the Thames, guarded by iron gates and men with rifles. Below, in the winding veins of Whitechapel and Spitalfields, where rats were more numerous than people, a new empire of misery had risen. The plague took flesh and voice. Jack the Ripper had never been caught because he had never been one man. He had become myth, spirit, fear itself. Mothers warned their children that his knife didn't kill. It awakened the pain you tried to forget. In this twisted reality, a boy named Elijah was born into the gutters beside Fleet Street. His mother died before he knew her name. His father was a ghost in the opium dens. At 13, Elijah could steal a loaf without being seen, sleep standing up in alleys, and crack the code of a locked cellar with a hairpin and a prayer. But Elijah had something no other child in the slums did: a voice. When the fog was kind and the moon cut through the soot, Elijah would climb atop the half-collapsed remnants of a chapel and sing. Not for money, not for pity. Just to remind the city it still had a soul. His voice, bright and haunting, made even the rats stop and listen. The few who heard called him the choir boy of the fog. One such listener was Lady Thorncroft, widow of a coal baron, known for her cruelty and bone-white dresses. She came masked, always masked, as was custom among the elite to avoid the air of the low-born. She heard Elijah one night while passing in her steam-drawn carriage and stopped. She made her driver wait in the poisonous fog as she stood there for an hour, veiled and motionless. That same week, Elijah was seized by strangers and brought to her manor. "You will learn to control that sound," she said. "It terrifies me, and anything that terrifies me has value." He was taught to read, to stand upright, to dress. They whipped him when he failed, but he learned. He learned to speak like a gentleman and to sing like the angels must envy. Lady Thorncroft paraded him before the lords and earls, calling him her little resurrection. But Elijah was no one's ornament. At 18, he ran. He ran into the heart of the city and did not hide. He sang in the gutters, yes, but now he sang of them, the dark alleys, the faceless dead, the bloody knives, and the fire of hope that refuses to die even when the wind howls against it. And people listened. The homeless gathered first, then the workers, then the children. Soon the fog-shrouded corners of London pulsed with his songs, carried by echo and memory. Revolutionaries took his words as banners. Writers printed his lyrics in underground broadsheets. By 30, Elijah had built a theater of his own, not in Mayfair, but in the ruins of Newgate Prison. Lantern lit with no seats for nobles. He called it the Rising House. Elijah didn't just survive, he lived. He married a woman who made violins from splintered coffins. He adopted orphans who would have been swept away by the plague. He became legend, not by escaping the horror, but by transforming it into song, into story, into life. And Jack the Ripper still walked. But when he came for Elijah, he found something he couldn't cut, a soul so loud even a blade couldn't silence it. In a city that had forgotten its own heart, one boy from the mud reminded it how to beat again. Moral: from the lowest gutter can rise the clearest voice. And even in a city built of pain, living, not just surviving, is the most defiant act of all.